Hey, what is up, guys? Thank you for joining me for this video. Today we're talking about happiness, and I would encourage you, if you haven't already gotten it, to try to find this book, You Can Be Happy No Matter What by Richard Carlson. He's the guy that wrote the book Don't Sweat the Small Stuff, which was really popular in the late 90s. And also over here, I've got a magazine I've been reading through, the Time magazine, The Science of Happiness, which is really helpful as well. Now, I've kind of been thinking to myself, why do I make these videos? And, the answer to that question is really simple. I make these videos because I'm helped by them. I'm helped by making these videos. It's a way of documenting the information that I'm learning, kind of like a person might do with a diary or a journal. It's a way of keeping myself accountable. As I'm learning stuff that's important to me, then I have to make a report on that, and I have to share that information, which then makes me more accountable for the information I'm learning, because in some ways it's kind of like a test. In other ways, I hope that the information can be useful to you. I hope that when you hear this information, the videos I make, that you're challenged by them. And I think if you let yourself be challenged by this information, it's going to stretch you and help you grow, which is really the goal, for all of us, is to be maturing and growing people. And today I'm going to continue this discussion on happiness. And some of you may watch a video like this, and you may be watching it because you're not a happy person, and you're hoping that something I say or something that comes up in this discussion will flip the switch for you, and there'll be the information you need, and now you'll be a happy person. Others of you may be watching this thinking, I don't know why I clicked on this. This is ridiculous. Why do people care about being happy? Why don't you just get stuff done? Just be productive and be useful and set goals and make a difference. And really though, but I want you to think about that. Why do you want to set goals, and why do you want to make a difference, and why ultimately are you so driven at work or in your relationships? Why? Isn't the goal of all of that to eventually get to the end of your day or the end of your week or the end of your quarter and be able to take some pride in your work, and then what? Be happy with yourself, right? Be happy. And really, this study on happiness that I'm doing is challenging because as a 7 on the Enneagram, the 7 is defined as somebody who's just seeking happiness in life. So it becomes kind of obvious that why would I study this? Because, well, as a 7, that's the goal, is how do you find happiness? But happiness, what I'm learning is happiness is not something that is to be found. It's not something that you search for. In fact, the minute you try to search for it, you've pretty much made it impossible that you're ever going to experience it. Happiness is not something that you go searching for. Happiness is not something that you attain at the end of a project, because you can get to the end of a project, do your best, and still feel miserable about it. Happiness is not something that you get as a result of being in relationships. You can be in relationships and be close to people, and they can make you miserable rather than happy. Happiness is not something that exists outside of yourself. Happiness is a feeling or a state that you are in naturally when your mind is allowed to rest. When you are no longer focusing your attention on all of the negative words that have been said to you, or fears that are possible, when you are no longer focused on everything that went wrong or everything that could go wrong, and your mind is and you're not focused on what you're missing or what you could be doing instead of what you're doing, and you just allow your mind to be present and you allow your mind to rest, happiness is the natural state and the natural feeling that you will experience. Now, what happens is, we get into this idea that I need to set a goal, and I'll be happier if I attain that goal. So then we become very passionate and very driven in achieving that goal. And our unrest and our unhappiness, or you could say our discontent with the way things are, drive us to attain that goal. What really is driving us? Discontent with the way things are. And we think that that's healthy because it works. When we become discontent because we feel like we're missing out on something, or we feel like we're missing something, we become discontent and we become driven, and that drivenness helps us attain, that discontent helps us attain that goal. And when we get to the goal, then we feel happy. But the happiness doesn't come because we reach the goal or because we have what we thought we wanted. The happiness comes when we let our mind now rest, because I no longer have to be obsessed about what I'm missing. That's what makes us happy, is that our mind can rest. Now, the same thing happens when you get to talk through some kind of difficult situation that you're in. Maybe you're facing a challenge or a hardship, and you sit down with somebody, a third person, and you talk through all of your fears and concerns, and you get to dump on them. And that catharsis, of being able to just dump out your worries and your concerns or your upset or your frustrations, even though you didn't solve any problems per se, even though they may never have given you any solutions, being able to offload all of those heavy thoughts brings you a sense of relief. When you get something that you feel you need, like something that's missing in your collection, and you acquire it, that new car, okay, or that new house, or that marriage, or that new baby, or whatever it is, when you get something that you were waiting for, maybe it's just something you collect. Maybe you collect guns, or you collect, tropical fish, or golf clubs, or whatever it is. When you are obsessively thinking about something that you think you need or want, and then you acquire it, when you purchase that item and bring it home, there's a sense of happiness that comes over you. But again, that happy feeling that you're feeling isn't because of that item. It's because you no longer have to obsessively think about lacking that item. So you feel a sense of relief. Now, what happens in the brain is that feeling of relief becomes hardwired and associated with getting something. So you kind of further compound the problem. Like a drug addict, you need more and more to feel less and less fulfilled. So the more luxury you require, the less luxurious your life becomes. Okay, think about that for a second. The more luxury you require, the less luxurious your life is. In other words, if you upgrade the bathroom linoleum to tile, tile is nicer than linoleum. But after a while, tile just becomes normal to you. So what was luxurious now becomes normal. And then you upgrade your worn out, stained carpet for luxurious, plush, soft carpet. Over time, that luxurious carpet becomes normal to you. And so what made you happy, quote unquote, no longer makes you happy. Which just proves the point that nothing outside you can make you happy. Now, I want to resist that teaching. I do. I want to believe, I would like to believe that something outside of me is going to make me happy. 7s on the Enneagram are gluttons. Okay? And gluttony, by definition, is I need this thing over here, and put it in my life, whether it's an activity or whether it's a behavior or whether it's a actual item, for a collection. I need this thing out here outside of me that when I buy it, purchase it, do it, experience it, then I will be happy. So the mind of a 7 is always racing, as to what else do we need? What are we missing out on? What else could we acquire? How could we make this more fun? So this teaching is extremely important to me, because what it does is it puts the weight back on me and says happiness is never anything that anything's going to give you. Happiness is, at the end of the day, a choice. Abraham Lincoln said it like this: people are just about as happy as they make up their minds to be. People are just about as happy as they make up their minds to be. So happiness is a state of mind that's not based on my circumstances. In other words, you can find people all over the world that live in destitute poverty that are joyful people. In fact, you go to some parts of the world where they're absolutely poverty and destitute, and you hear them worship, and they worship with a celebrative heart that is beyond anything you'll see in America. How do you explain that? How can the people be so happy when their circumstances are so poor? If happiness is determined by your circumstances, then why aren't you happy already? I mean, you already have so many things that you wanted in life. How come those things haven't sustained happiness in your life? Because happiness doesn't come from our circumstances. Happiness comes when we can let our minds rest and we let go of that sense of longing for something else. When we can become content. When we give thanks. Rather than focus on what we need to accomplish, rather than focusing on what we need to attain, when we focus our attention on what we already have, what we already possess, what we're doing right now, we open the door at least to experiencing happiness. Now, if we sit and think about when happiness comes and that sense of happiness comes, if we sit and analyze it and try to understand it and try to pick it apart, it'll probably leave us. Rather, if we could just become conscious of it, that right now I'm feeling a sense of happiness. I'm present with my circumstances. I'm present with the people in my life. And there's this general sense of calm, serenity, which is happiness. If I can just notice it, I can probably get to a point where I can experience it longer and sustain it longer. And then when I start believing the lies that I need something else to make me happy, or I need to amp up what we're doing in order to really be happy, or I need to accomplish something before I can be happy, I need to attain something, I need to get to some goal before I can be happy. If I can catch my mind doing that, then I can sort of talk myself down off the ledge and say, nope, wait a minute now. I don't need to accomplish anything in order to be happy. I can be happy right now if I can let go of all of this outside needs. And then, you know what will probably happen? I'll probably reach the goal, because happy people get stuff done. Happy people let go of all their negative thoughts, let go of all their arguing, let go of all their resistance, and with that positive attitude are in touch with their better mood, are in touch with their wisdom, in touch with their common sense, and are happy-go-lucky people. Happy-go-lucky people attract others and they get stuff done. Not because I've got to attain this to feel some peace in my life, but since I have such peace, they go forward with confidence and with wisdom. And they accomplish a lot. So, challenging stuff, but helpful stuff. Let's see, we can go a little deeper. We got a little bit of time. Rather than simply trying to be happy by attaining things, we can get in touch with our natural state of happiness. The feeling of happiness comes from within us, not from outside of us. As long as we continue to pay attention to all of our negative thoughts and all of our worries and all of our fears and all of our anxiety, or stuck in the past, or focused only on planning for the future. Planning for the future can bring about anticipation, okay? And anticipation can kind of feel like happiness. We can get kind of lost in our dreams of what could be. And that anticipation, I think, often gets confused for happiness. But happiness is a little different in that it has nothing to do with anticipation. It's being content in the moment. It's being at peace in the moment. It's being full in the moment. Happiness is now. Happiness is innate. It occurs when you allow your mind to rest, and when you take your focus of your attention off of your concerns and off of your problems, and instead allow your mind to relax and to remain in the moment. And ironically, I think you're better able to handle problems. That's what's cool about this, is you're better able to handle problems and handle conflicts and handle whatever situation you're going in when you take your mind off of it. See, when we start to do all the problem solving and what's wrong with this and how can I fix this, and our mood starts to decline, we become less and less able to really solve those problems. But when we're in a relaxed state of mind and we recognize the world's not coming to an end and we're going to be okay and everything's all right and we can relax and we can whistle and we can feel good about life, then either the problems go away or we are better able to fully be present to resolve those problems. Okay, this is such good stuff. Happiness allows you to see information in a new and creative way and to make more rational and productive decisions. How many times have you been unsuccessful in trying to think your way to happiness? Okay, you can't think your way into happiness. It's more about letting go of negative thoughts or of troubling thoughts or of I need this now kind of thoughts. Okay, so contrary to popular opinion, it's not your desires or fulfilling your desires that make you happy. The moment you switch gears and return your focus back to now what else you need, that's the problem, is once you get those golf clubs and once you get that, then you'll think of something else. Given enough time, you'll think of something else that you need in some other area of your life, perhaps, and then you'll just go right back into that perpetual cycle of I need this, and I need this, and I need this. Now, I'm not saying give up all need. I don't think, that the author's saying give up all need and become a Buddhist monk, But I think that recognize that what you really need is to stop needing all of these things you need. And that's when contentment can come into your life, and with contentment you can find happiness. If obtaining a desire, any desire, could be the cause of your feeling happiness, why aren't you happy already? Good question. Think of the countless times when you've received exactly what you wanted, but yet later found yourself to be unhappy again. Sometimes, he talks about trying to talk it out and hoping that that'll make us happy. Really, it just helps us to relax for a moment and feel a sense of peace, but our problems don't really go away. Happiness cannot occur when we place its source outside of ourselves. Once we assume that certain conditions must be met before we can feel happy, then we are too late to experience it. We just start creating new conditions for happiness. So I need this, and I need this, and I need them to treat me like this, and I need them to say, these kinds of things to me. It's possible to maintain your happiness even when the things in your life are not going the way you would want them to. In fact, it's probably more important that you remain a happy person and at peace with the world when there is crisis and when there is trouble brewing and when there is challenges. There's going to be challenges to your peace of mind in life. It's going to happen. From the relationships you're in, the health that you experience. If you live in the real world and you have a body and you pay taxes and you have to go to work, you're not able to control all your circumstances. And so challenges to your happiness are going to come from every side. And happiness is not a feeling. Here, I'm just quoting what he says. Happiness is not a feeling. Happiness is a feeling, not an outcome. In other words, if everything turns out the way I want it to, then I'd be happy. No. How about this? If you could be happy now, you could maybe let go of the idea that things need to turn out the way you quote unquote want them to. Because again, what if you were happy right now? You would be better able to face the problems and challenges and circumstances that you're in, or whatever life has dealt you. But also you could maybe let go of this idea that I need everything to come out the way I want it to. Why? Because you're already happy. If you need it to turn out the way you want it to in order to be happy, then you've got a problem. Because then you can never be happy unless it turns out the way you want it to. But as soon as it turns out the way you want it to and you feel happiness for a moment, you're just going to replace that list with a new list of things that need to turn out the way you want them to. So again, if you could already be happy and content now, maybe you could let go of this notion that things need to come out a certain kind of outcome. Because you're already happy. Because you let go of all your needs, you've let go of all your troubled, worried, anxious thoughts, and you accept life as it is. You're present to life the way it is. So, letting go is nothing more than taking your attention off of whatever it is you're thinking about. Happiness comes from within. When happiness is your goal, you can experience it regardless of your surroundings. You recognize your contentment. Happiness is right now. Your life is not a dress rehearsal for some later date. Not just planning and preparing for some test that's coming, but you're able to fully be present to life. So I hope that you're being challenged by these videos. Some of you guys are sticking with me and it's starting to click with you. And I hope you're thinking about it. I hope you're encouraged by it. That imagine what it'd be like to live in a life where you're already full, where you're already content, where you're already happy. Yeah, you're going to face hard times. Yeah, you're going to face troubles. But think of the resilience that you could have facing those challenges if you already had this sense of contentment and peace about you. You don't need to then argue for yourself. You don't need to try to prove yourself to others. You don't need to attain everything. So you don't waste time chasing after rainbows because you already live in that state of happiness. You're not trying to prove yourself to others. You're not trying to prove yourself or your worth or your value to anyone. You're not sitting with anger and resentment and frustration. You're not sitting in shame. You're letting all those feelings go. You're not focusing your attention on them. And to live in relative peace and harmony in life, connected to God, connected to others, what a great way to live. I think that if we could get a hold of this kind of teaching in our life and really understand what Thanksgiving and contentment really means, it would be a great goal for us all. Again, it's not saying give up all your needs. It's just saying make sure that you need the right things and let go of the needs that aren't really needs at all. All right, till I see you next time, this is Dr. LaHue. Thank you for sitting with me for this video. I hope it's encouraging and helpful to you. Share it with your friends if you think they might be encouraged in some way. You can always subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss any of these videos. You can contact me. My information is below in the whatever it is, down below the video here, the description. And if I can help you in any way, I'd always love if you reach out to me. Thank you. Take care. See you guys next time.